Hi guys, it's Wednesday, so I thought we would take the opportunity to shop the markets. So Wednesday and Saturdays are usually the most popular days for markets in France. And if you ever want to know where the market is in a town that you're staying in, look for the church, because typically they're in the church square. So I've got my baskets. That's tip number one. Make sure you bring your baskets, because the vendors will give you little bags, but then you'll end up with a whole bunch of bags and it'll be really hard to cart around. So, okay, come on, let's go see what there is. Okay, so tip number one when shopping any market in France is go around and look to see everything that they have. That way you'll be able to choose better, because if you end up buying things right away, you might find out that, oh, the melons look better a few stalls down. So I always do a full tour just to see what there is and then do the shopping. Now, one thing to know is when shopping the markets in France, don't touch the produce. You can see this woman has lots of signs out getting ready for the tourist season. And the reason is because when you order vegetables at the vegetable stand, it's the farmer or the seller that really knows the product best. J'aimerais deux melons, s'il vous plaît. Vous voulez les manger quand? C'est quand aujourd'hui? Yeah, s'il vous plaît. See, and so she asked, when is it for? Is it for today? And we say yes, and so now she's going to pick the better one. And then I also picked up some of these beautiful strawberries. The other thing when shopping the markets is you have to have cash, because nobody takes credit cards, so make sure you have enough cash. C'est combien? 12,45. One of my other favorite things to do in France is to buy a selection of olives and tapenade. It's a wonderful way to start the meal. And there's some anchovies as well as some marinated mushrooms. You can get, this looks really delicious, artichoke tapenade, regular tapenade, tomato tapenade. So I'm going to get a few because I think that'll be a great one to have for lunch. And there are samples, okay. So I asked him what the best one was, and he told me that definitely the basil was his favorite. But there was also artichoke and other varieties too, and the best thing to do is to serve it with a glass of white wine. Okay. Then he's recommending that we serve it with these little toasts. They're made in France and they're artisanal, so we will get some of these as well. Even if your French is minimal, don't be afraid to engage the sellers. There is no one more passionate about the food they are selling than the people producing it. And it'll add so much more to the experience, and you'll end up tasting some of their favorites, which is always the best thing to buy. Another really wonderful thing that you can find in the market are these beautiful futas. You can use them for everything. You can take them to the beach because they're really lightweight, but you can also put them on your table. So we're going to buy a few for the house, but look at all the different colors they come in. So a futa is a thin piece of fabric that is Tunisian in origin. And because Tunisia was once a French colony, you still see a lot of them today in France. They come in so many beautiful colors that I always find it hard to choose because they all look so great. They're perfect for the beach because they're so lightweight, and especially if you're riding your bike, you don't want a heavy beach towel weighing you down. I also find they make for great gifts too. You can wear them too. I mean, look how beautiful this is. This would be wonderful for a scarf. I think I'm going to take 4 of these for the pool. Okay, je vais prendre 4 comme ça. Another wonderful thing that you can buy here in the market at Saint-Gilles are these beautiful traditional marinière t-shirts. And because the weather has been so dicey here, I think I need to get one because I brought a bunch of t-shirts and it's been raining and it's been a little cold. So I think I am thinking like maybe this one would be good. Yeah. Now, if you're buying for men here, get the triple extra large because these are cut really small. So the French are a little bit smaller than the Americans. So if you want something bigger, go for the triple extra large, and it's actually not that big. What do you think? It's really soft too. It's beautiful cotton. 28 euros. I think it's a good buy. It's good. It's good. And then I bought a head of lettuce. I'm always so amazed at how large the heads of lettuce are in France, especially at the market this time of year. I'm going to use it to serve with my cheese tray that I'm going to make for lunch. Next, it was off to the cheese cart. So this is one of my husband's favorite little trucks to come visit. They're so knowledgeable. There are so many cheese varieties to choose from that it's really great to start engaging whoever is there selling it because they will point you in the right direction. Okay, then you can also buy amazing creme fraiche products here. So we're going to get a little bit of this for dessert. And look at the texture, how thick it is. It almost looks like a beautiful melted gelato. Then it was off to the meat cart. One of the things that's really fun to do on market day is get one of these delicious rotisserie chickens that have been roasting all morning long. And then you can get a big, beautiful packet of potatoes to go with it. So we have to make our last stop at the market, which is to buy the bread. Look at all of this beautiful bread. It is so hard to choose. There are so many different kinds that you can choose from. All of it is so delicious. I think for us, we're gonna take the traditional baguette. It seems to be one of our favorites. Look at this brioche. Is this not the most beautiful thing? Look, and I love how they all come in these little wooden buckets. It's so beautiful. We'll use that for the morning. Girls love that. Okay, we have all of our provisions. Now it's time to go home and make lunch. Let's go. So typically in the summertime, lunch is our biggest meal here in France, just because you'll see it's so much food. So we're gonna begin with the entree. So if you're American and you're traveling over here and you get to a restaurant and you see on the menu entree, that's actually not the main dish. That would be the starter. And entrees can be things like vegetables, smoked salmon, sometimes a collection of toasts and tapenade. Then you would have the main dish, which is called the plat principal. And for that, we're gonna use our chicken and potatoes. Then you do the cheese course with some salad and bread, and then dessert. So you can see that is a lot of food, and it's a lot to do that twice in a day. So we typically do it at lunch, and then we do something lighter for dinner. So I have this little sheet pan that actually came with our oven that I'm gonna put the chicken in. And the way that they wrap it up in these oven bags, my sister-in-law would actually just put this bag in the oven since it's meant to go in there, but that always makes me a little bit nervous, so I need to get out. And when you buy the chicken, they ask you if you want juice. Always say yes to the juice, because that is what's gonna keep the chicken from drying out. And see, here's the other move that you wanna do with the juice, which is add the potatoes to it, because that is really delicious. So that's what we're gonna do. And what you probably couldn't see from the market video is the potatoes actually came with little pieces of bacon, little pieces of pork that they would call a lardon. And that also really flavors the potatoes. So maybe you can see here. You can see it in there. Okay, so we're gonna put that on the tray as well. Here we go, give it a shake. And then I'll also just spoon the potatoes around in all of that sauce, which will make it really delicious. Okay, then to keep it warm, I'm gonna put it in a 100-degree-Celsius oven, so 200 degrees Fahrenheit if you're in the States. And then if you want to create this lunch at home, I have a really great roast chicken recipe and roasted potato recipe that you can make. And I will link to those videos below. And then that way you can make them yourself if you can't get them at your local market. All right, so in they go. All right, now I'm going to prepare the dessert because the strawberries do take a little bit of time. So the strawberries that I bought, I basically just hold them and cut them in half like that, put them in a big bowl. So we're going to add some sugar just so that they will macerate in their own juices and create like a nice syrup. So you just want to toss them like that in the sugar. And then by the time we're ready for dessert, a beautiful syrup will have developed. Then we're going to add this beautiful creme fraiche that we bought. It's kind of like a creme fraiche, but not as tangy. So it's really good for desserts. We are going to put this in a bowl. It's like that. I mean, look at the texture of this. Is this not insane? Almost looks like really soft gelato or ice cream. So I love the way that the vanilla bean pods come in France. They come in like these glass, almost like test tubes, and they're so much fatter and plumper than what we get in the States. This was about €3, so maybe, I don't know, $4.50, which seems like a lot, but when you consider what you buy in the States, and it's like $11 for some dried up little thing, this I think is a better deal. So look at that, so beautiful. So I'm just gonna scrape the paste and put it into the cream. Now you could also use vanilla extract. I would do maybe 2 teaspoons just to get the same flavor. In it goes. This is such a great dessert for when it's hot outside and you don't want to bake anything. It's really refreshing and delicious. We've been making this a couple times since we've been here. It's part of the laziness that I feel sometimes here because products are so delicious and the quality is so great that you don't actually need to do much to have something special. And then we want to sweeten it with some powdered sugar so that it dissolves really easily into the cream. You could use granulated sugar, but then you'll have sort of the grains to deal with. I think the texture is a lot better with the powdered sugar. And in France, it's called sucre glacé. So we're gonna do about 2 teaspoons. I don't do much because the strawberries are pretty sweet and so is the vanilla. So now, actually, I'm gonna need my whisk here. And then you can see how I've organized all my tools. I wish I had something like this in LA. I don't. I have everything on the countertops in Croix, but I'm really beginning to love this system. It's very handy. So we will take this whisk and then we will whisk it up. So here we go. Oh, this looks so delicious. See, and then all you have to do is serve it, is put it into something nice and glass and footed. I found these at the grocery store the other day. Aren't they cute? I like the footed nature of it because it just makes it feel really fancy, especially when you have a very simple dessert. It elevates the whole thing. Okay, so in we go with maybe, I don't know, a few spoonfuls. And I will put all these recipes in the description below, so if you guys want to recreate it at home, you'll have it. And then we will just spoon over these delicious strawberries. I'm going to use the ones that I did a few hours ago, just so that you can see the delicious syrup. There you go, super easy and delicious summer dessert idea. Now I'm gonna put together the little snacks that we got at the Friendly Olive Man vendor. So I've got this tomato tapenade, which I thought looked really great, and it was delicious. He was very friendly with the samples, which you'll find sometimes, which is really nice, so you know what you're buying ahead of time. So we're gonna put our tomato tapenade in there. There we go. I think something low and shallow works well for this, so people sort of see what it is they're getting into. There, then I'll do the basil one that we bought, which was also really delicious. There we go. And then I highly recommend saving these little containers because if you don't finish it all, you can pop it back in here. And then of course the olives, which were super delicious. You usually see that at every market. Sometimes, depending on where you are in France, like if you're in the south, it'll be a much bigger vendor selling olives. And usually they're in these big bowls and they have them all out for you and you can sample and you can try them and it's so beautiful. And then when I was buying the chicken, the lady was so sweet there. She actually threw in a little gift. She gave me some of this rillette. So this is another thing that's really popular in France. It took me a few years to really embrace the rillette. So this is a chicken rillette with tarragon. So let me show you the texture. The texture of rillette, it reminds me of tuna fish salad. I know that sounds like a strange thing to say, but it's cut up meat really with spices and herbs, you see, and it's cooked and you put it on toast. It's really good also seafood rillettes. You can find that a lot of the time, especially in the summertime. Salmon rillette or just seafood rillette on toast. It's really pretty delicious. So she threw this in, so we're gonna serve this one too. And then, per the recommendation of our friend at the Olive Bar, we're gonna serve his little toasts with it. And then we're gonna use a cocktail napkin for our little basket here. These work out really well for the small baskets. I just bought this at a local flea market. I'm on the hunt for a bunch more baskets because as you can see, all of my produce here is in like bowls and things because I haven't really found enough baskets, but I did find this one. So I'm gonna put the toasts in here. Isn't it cute? Normally this is my kiwi basket. Now, if you wanted to create this idea in the States, I would go to like a Whole Foods market or Gelson's or any kind of grocery store that usually has an olive bar. And chances are they'll also have some of this tapenade. Or I've also seen it at Trader Joe's. You can get olives and tapenade there too. And don't forget the little toasts. Can you guys hear the birds? Oh my gosh, they are so loud and they sing all day long. It is the cutest thing. And sometimes the seagulls will chime in and it's like a serious concert. But now I wanted to show you what we would typically serve as an entree. And this was something that I had in one of the local restaurants a few nights ago that was so delicious. I had to show you how to make it. But basically what it was smoked salmon. So I have one packet of smoked salmon here. And I'm just gonna make a little bit because it's probably just my husband and I that will eat this. So let's see, how many pieces do I have? Maybe 4, 5 slices? Then they had it marinated in olive oil. So we'll just throw a little bit of olive oil on. You don't want to add too much olive oil because the fish is a little bit oily as well, but just enough to make a nice little sauce. Because the idea is then you lap up the sauce with the bread at the end, which is really good. Then we're going to take some grapefruit, which at first might seem like a strange combination with the salmon. But if you consider you put lemon on salmon, it's really citrus friendly. So we're just going to do a little bit, just a little squeeze of that, and then a little squeeze of lemon juice as well. A little of that. And then they had all these beautiful citrus segments also on the plate. So if you've never segmented citrus before, it's super easy to do. All you do is just cut off each end so that you have a flat surface to work on. You see me here? Here, maybe I need to make this whole thing closer. We're gonna bring the gadget front and center. Let's see, is that good? Where? Okay, you don't see me, but that's okay. You don't need to see me. Okay, then you just cut off the skin, see, moving the orange all the way around. You want to get the full peel plus the little white bit there. Then to get the bottom part, just flip the orange and do the same thing all the way around. Then you'll be left with this little orange globe like this. And then what you want to do is cut in between the membranes. So it's kind of like little pages of a book. Here, I'm going to show you. You slice just in between, and then in removing it, you'll actually get yourself a little segment. You see that? Just like that. And then we're going to plop these on top of the salmon. And then do the same thing with the grapefruit. And then you can put the orange segments and the grapefruit all the way around, and it looks really pretty. And then you can also do some sliced lemons, which I like to put on the corner. And then the other thing we're gonna add is just some freshly cracked pepper. A little bit of fresh dill is always great. I just kind of rip it and put it kind of everywhere. There we go. And then another thing that this restaurant had put on this, which I thought was really great, were some of these, what they call bay rose, kind of like a peppercorn, but softer. And those are also really pretty to put on top, and they'll give you a little bit of a crunch. See, and that's all there is to it. See how pretty? And then that olive oil and all the citrus makes like the most delicious sauce as it sits there and marinates. So you could actually make this, I don't know, maybe an hour before and pop it in your fridge, and then it would be all ready to go. All right, entree done. Okay, now over here, I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do with these beautiful melons that we bought. So because she picked them for today, let's see. I think she did a good job because I can already smell them just from right here. The fragrance is so delicious. And here, I'll show you what they look like inside. When you cut into them, they're like the most beautiful color orange. See how beautiful? It almost looks like a squash. There, so I'm gonna spoon this out and cut them up. Now, it's very popular in my husband's family to serve melon as an entree. And the first time I saw it, I was like, we're gonna have this before dinner? This seems so odd. But they actually serve it with cracked pepper on it. So let me know if anybody else's family out there does that. But it's very popular in the summertime, especially when it's really hot, to serve sliced melon with pepper as a starter. Don't knock it till you try it. So my kids like to eat the melon plain. They don't actually go for the freshly cracked pepper yet, but they might someday. And then my husband and I really like a few slices of prosciutto on top. I know it's kind of an Italian thing, but it's popular here too in France. You see that, especially in the summertime. I'm gonna pop these in the fridge, and then we're gonna prepare our cheese platter. Okay, here's the best part about putting together a cheese platter, especially if you rent this house. You have access to the grape leaves, so let me show you. So even though we don't have the grapes yet, we're still waiting for them to grow on this pergola. That will probably take a year or so. We do have access to these fabulous grape leaves, which I have been coming out here and plucking them, much to the horror of my husband, but I think it's okay. I mean, these leaves are so prolific, they grow like weeds, so I don't think this plant is gonna mind if I just take 3, right? That's all we need. I'm gonna take these beautiful little grape leaves that we picked from outside, and I'm gonna put them right on the board. So when you serve a cheese tray in France, it's important that the cheese is at room temperature because that's when the flavors of the cheese are best. So I always like to prepare my cheese platter before we sit down to lunch and leave it at room temperature. That way it's all ready to go. So we have our beautiful little heart-shaped cheese that we got, so we'll put that over here. And that'll have the creaminess of a brie. And then we have our tome that we bought, and you do actually eat the rind. So don't be afraid of the rind. We will just put that here. And then you also want to save these little papers because they're sort of like a wax paper and they're perfect for wrapping up the cheese in. So that's the thing, like we're not going to eat all of this cheese in one sitting. We'll probably eat it throughout the week. So you always want to have papers to wrap it back up in. Otherwise, it dries out. Okay, and then our third cheese. Look at this beauty. Oh, this looks so good. This is a blue. Look at that. But she said that it's not very strong. So I always think that's good because blues can be really strong and Roquefort can be even stronger. It'll make your eyes water. I love them and they're salty and delicious, especially if you put some butter down first. But I don't know, usually in the daytime, I like something a little softer. So we're gonna go with this one. We'll put that here. And then, this isn't very French, but I do like to add some grapes. Usually the French would just leave it just like this and serve it with a salad. But I like to add, I don't know, some grapes. I think the combination of the sweet and savory is kind of good. And then it's June here, so it's a little early for fresh figs. They will come in August and they'll be amazing and I'll buy them then. But my husband really likes dried figs, so I will add some dried figs on top of there. Okay, now for the salad. So It's sort of an old tradition, I think, to serve a salad with the cheese course in France, but it is a tradition that will die hard in my husband's family, especially my husband. He loves to have his salad with his cheese. Doesn't need to be elaborate. It's basically just greens with a vinaigrette. So I do always make that for him. So one thing you do need to know though, because these greens have not been washed, is you really need a little contraption like this. A salad spinner. Now, my mother-in-law would take all of this lettuce, put it in the sink, and take each leaf off, rinse it, and then dry it by hand, which would be another way to go if you didn't have this gadget. But if you end up renting this house, the salad spinner is in the middle drawer, okay? It'll be waiting here for you. And then I'm just gonna rinse this off like this, and give it a little shake. And I'm pretty amazed, the salad is really pretty clean, so I didn't see too much dirt on it. They probably rinse it before they bring it to the market, but this is just to rinse before you eat it. There. Then this is gonna go on top, and then away you go. Now these do exist in the States and in other parts of the world. If you haven't ever seen it and you want one, it's in my Amazon shop. And I'll give you a link where you can buy it below. There. Then once it's all spun, you just press the button, it stops, and then it's good to go. Then I'm gonna take a clean dish towel, and I'm gonna put the lettuce on the towel, just like so. See, and you can see all of the water that's left in this container. See how much water that got? That got so much water out. And I like to have the salad nice and dry because then that way it doesn't dilute your dressing. Okay, so then I typically fold it, kind of like a burrito, like this, and then fold it over, and then see, I have like a little pack that I'm gonna put in the crisper drawer, and then when it's time to serve, it's all ready to go. Then the other thing I like to have ready is the dressing. So what I typically do is mix the dressing in the bowl that I'm going to serve the salad in. Then all I have to do is add the leaves and toss. So that's another thing that you can do at home as well. So to make my mother-in-law's famous vinaigrette, if you haven't seen me do it before, here's what you need. A little bit of the famous Amara mustard, which is my favorite here in France. It's really strong, so if you're not a mustard fan, a little dab will do you. But I usually add about a teaspoon. There we go, just in the bottom of the bowl, just like that. Then we are going to add a little bit of red wine vinegar. Let's see. This red wine vinegar is really strong, stronger than I get in the States, so I just do about a half a teaspoon. There we go, or a splash, either one. Then I also really like to use grapeseed oil because I find it's so much lighter than olive oil. So this is something my mother-in-law has taught me. She always uses the grapeseed oil, which is called the huile de pépin. So if you see it in the store, that's what it's called, huile de pépin. There we go. And then first you just want to mix this together so that it's combined, just like that. Then in you go with the oil. And you just want to do a little bit at a time because we're making an emulsion. And you know, oil and vinegar don't like to combine, but they do if you do it slowly. So, and a little at a time. And I also find the slower you do it, the thicker the dressing can get. So if you like a really thick dressing, just keep going and it'll just keep creating this really nice emulsion. Then we're gonna add a little bit of this Fleur De Sel, which I love. This is really salt country here. You see a lot of salt marshes. And so you can basically find this anywhere in the supermarket. And just add a little pinch is all you need. There we go. And then if you really want to have a French flair, you'll add a shallot. So this is a pretty big shallot, so maybe a half a shallot. You just want to mince it and pop it in the dressing. And as it sits in the dressing, it'll flavor it even more so that by the time you're ready to serve the salad, it'll have a really great flavor to it. Okay, just got a call. My husband is headed back with the kids, so I better clean all this up and really get ready for lunch. But there's one thing I wanted to show you before they come back, and that is this, the tourteau, which actually means crab in France, I guess because it sort of looks like a crab, but it's a little cake that's made with cheese. And you find it at a cheese shop or those little cheese carts in the market. Definitely look for it because it's really delicious. I know it looks really strange, but it's so delicious. I'm gonna actually cut into it just so you can see what the texture is. It's like the lightest, most fluffiest cake. What that is, see how spongy it is? Look at that. It's so delicious. And it has just a very light sweetness. So it's actually a really great thing to serve with our desserts. I'll probably just serve like little squares like this on a plate. But if you can't get this, then I would serve those desserts with some lady fingers. That would really be great too. I wish I could just give you guys a bite because it's so good. Yum, yum, yum. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's inspired you to maybe shop your own local farmers markets and make a really great summer lunch for your family. Now, there go the seagulls. Do you hear them chiming in? All right, you guys, I'll see you back here next time. Until then, bye.